Welcome everyone to another entry in the Hyrule Compendium. And today we have a topic it was sort of suggested by viewer Tesseract. I'm kind of altering their suggestion a little bit. They wanted us to talk about the flaws of our favorite Zelda games. And I know that you personally think your favorite Zelda game is flawless.
Yes.
So I have more of a specific question for you, which is, if there is one thing you could improve about your favorite Zelda game, what would it be?
It's the game that's already a legend. The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, only on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
I think, the reason why I think A Link to the Past is the greatest video game of all time is because of, the root of this question. I think it's as close to flawless as it gets. I think the gameplay is perfect. The inventory, the music, the amount of dungeons.
Yes.
The two-world mechanic. Every game can always be better, though.
Sure. There isn't actually a perfect video game out there, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you can improve upon it. One thing they did with the Four Swords re-release, which I think is a inferior version of A Link to the Past.
Yeah, definitely.
But it did add that extra Palace of the Four Sword, which was an optional endgame dungeon that's difficult and fun. It's more content is what a game could always use. It's not a flaw. There was not major optional content on a grand scheme. There was a lot of heart pieces, there's a lot of optional items, there's a bottle quest, all these mini games there's throughout the game, but there's no giant optional content.
Okay. Also with all that stuff you can get, plenty of people do runs of it where they minimalist, they don't get that. But if you're someone like me, I've played it at our marathon plenty of times before, it actually benefits you to actually get all of that stuff. Whereas collecting heart pieces and skulltulas and Ocarina of Time, you don't really need to collect much stuff in that game to do well.
Right.
Maybe on your first time.
This is more of a fault of the time period that A Link to the Past came out, but it could have done a better job from a story perspective of explaining more things in game. If you watched the title screen play out with the introduction, it does show some of it, but there's still a lot of information that's only in the manual. And I suppose since that's not in game, some people didn't experience it. And this day and age, it's not in an interactive cutscene or something. This is more of a sign of the times. There's not many cutscenes in the game. There's not many in-game story elements. It's perhaps some people in the world could view that as a flaw. It's still a flawless game.
We talked about it a little bit in our last video and in our definitive ranking, how Ocarina of Time, the dungeons are they're a little more thematic than A Link to the Past, which was already doing a pretty good job for the time, but also each of them kind of had its own unique little story with the Gorons and the Zoras, or with the Nabooru in the desert. You get a little bit extra story that ties in with the overall story.
Yeah.
Whereas in A Link to the Past, you're saving all these sages who look similar.
The more appropriate, I think, comparison to that would be A Link Between Worlds, because you meet all these characters. Some of them you only meet for a short period of time, but then they become more meaningful sages. There is slightly more character development. The dungeons are slightly more thematic too. There's the Turtle Rock in A Link Between Worlds, I'm referring to, is a fire-based, lava-filled dungeon. Yeah. Turtle Rock in A Link to the Past, there's some stuff going on in there, but it doesn't. You don't feel like it's a fire-based dungeon.
Yeah.
So there is an ice-themed one, and there's a water-themed one to an extent. The themes of the dungeons, they're much more thematic in some of the later releases. So I guess more limitations of hardware. I'm trying to find an excuse for everything here, because I don't think these are. I feel dirty now. It's just like telling your wife everything she's bad at, because A Link to the Past is my wife, and she's perfect.
72 hours. One home.
With my favorite game, it's a little bit more complicated, because we just did a video last week where we were talking about the dungeons, which is like the highlight of the series for me. But then yet, for some reason, Majora's Mask is like one of my favorites, my favorite Zelda game. So if I could actually improve it in any way, beyond what the remake for 3DS did.
More fishing holes.
Yeah, I would first take out the fishing holes. There's a lot of optional dungeon-ish areas, but they're just not meant to be full-blown dungeons. But I would just have made like the spider houses just dungeons, little, maybe mini dungeons, but something that's a bit more satisfying than just finding some sculptures, Maybe you don't need to get dungeon items, but, have some keys and a boss in there, Just take some of those areas where, the Ikana graveyard where you go down, you kind of just go through a little gauntlet of some enemies and fight a Iron Knuckle. But maybe it'd be cool if, you had some navigation there or something.
Yeah.
I think the worry with why are there only 4 areas is because this, like, time mechanic requires people to have these set schedules. So once you start adding in more characters, it becomes like, it's kind of a delicate balance they're striking, because a lot of people are going to Clock Town and stuff like that. So I think, I am not saying add a whole 5th area to go to and explore and have more NPCs you got to figure out. But, just maybe have taken some of those areas and give them a little bit more dungeon to explore.
I think the perfect number of dungeons is about 8.
Yeah, so if they had added 4 more...
Yeah. Imagine a game like Link's Awakening in a Majora's Mask world. You got to get the 8 instruments. One's off in the bay, one's in the snow, one's in the canyon, one's in the swamp, and then, one's up in the clouds, one's the underworld, one's in, and there's like more regions, one's in an ice, well, there's already an ice place, but you know what I mean?
Right.
More of the thematic areas.
Yeah, it is just, that would be a nightmare, unless they made the areas more segmented. But what I like is that it does feel like this big world that kind of revolves around Clock Town and stuff like that, so you have characters traveling and, stuff like that. Link the Goron coming into town.
Yes, I love him.
I like the stories in a lot of Zelda games, but that's not why I really play a lot of Zelda games. They're all pretty fun and serviceable you get through. But in Majora's Mask, it's a game where I really like all the stories and all the characters.
I don't like the overarching story. I guess the overarching theme is okay because it makes the individual stories a lot of fun. The whole end of the world is basically the theme of the game.
Yeah, and you see how it affects all these people.
Right.
Getting back to it, that would be much harder to do in a game that was bigger and had more dungeons and more NPCs, unless it was, like I said, where you just renovate certain areas and make them a bit more fleshed out dungeon wise. But it's a difficult balance, and it's a controversial game. It's not the gold standard of Zelda, I'll give you that.
No, that's A Link to the Past. It's a flawless game. Great question, by the way. Great question.
It's a great question.
It made me think.
It made Moss feel bad. Hopefully it's what you wanted. Hopefully you got enough of Moss trash talking A Link to the Past.
No, I think most people will think that I still defended it.
People are gonna be mad at you.
Yeah.
At Mossy's the Great on Twitter if you wanna.
Yeah, and list all the flaws of A Link to the Past.
Let's hear them. Let's see them in the comments. Maybe we'll do it. We'll do an episode where I read the flaws to you.
None of them.
It'll be the shortest video ever done.
Yeah, it'll be silence.
All right, everyone, give this a like. Let us know how you feel about Moss.
Yeah. Give us all the flaws we had in this video.
Subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.